This is the Vision with Execution show. My name is Adam Torkelson, and I started this podcast earlier this year, January 1st, actually. And I've been thinking a lot about the people whose books I've read, like Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and other books about how to have good mental health, good mental strength. And a lot of these people, they all talk about how you create a vision in your mind of what you want to accomplish or achieve, and then you work on going out and executing it into reality. And Thomas Edison, I think, said the opposite really well. He said, vision without execution is hallucination. And so I thought to myself, well, then that must mean vision with execution is reality. So that's the premise of this show. And on my show today, I have one of the coolest guys I know, who I've looked up to for more than half my life, ever since we met back when we were both 13 or 14. And I'm not going to say who's older because he looks younger than I do. So I'll let him keep that. This is Ryan Lello, my cousin, business partner. He's a stud in the ballroom dance world. And he's also an amazing businessman and marketer. And Ryan, thank you for coming on my show today.
It's a pleasure, brother. Wow. Yeah, we go back, and I'm older. I'm just gonna say it. I'm older. I don't know. I don't remember how old you are, so I don't know how much older I am. But yeah, man, it's crazy how time just flies. Goes really fast. And in fact, we should talk about that today because, with your podcast, time goes so fast that if you don't have a plan to execute, your dreams will never become reality. So yeah, let's dive in. I'm excited.
Yeah, I like how you said that. If you don't take advantage of the time you have to execute on your own dreams, I've also heard it said that if you're not creating your own visions into realities and your dreams into realities, you're just going to be doing it for somebody else's dreams.
Right.
And that's one of the saddest things I've ever heard. And I know a lot of people, a lot of family that have dreams and big visions, and then they don't even go for it. And that's one of the saddest things to me. But the cool thing is we all have it within our own power to create our own visions, create our own dreams, and then go out and execute them into reality. So I love how you're already thinking that way. So one of the things that I've respected about Ryan a lot ever since we met, and by the way, Ryan's mom married into my mom's family. His mom's married to my uncle, so we are related by marriage that way. And one of the first memories I have of Ryan was he was rollerblading, not roller skating, rollerblading. This was back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I was a wannabe skater at the time. And I thought I was so cool with my skateboard. But Ryan, you just had these moves on your rollerblades. I just was like so green with envy. I thought he's got to be getting so many girls' attention right now. And, as a teenager, that was the only thing on my mind. What are these girls thinking about? And also at the same time, you were incredible at ballroom dance. Your mom's a ballroom dance instructor, or she probably does all the dance instruction. And fast forward to today, you still do ballroom dance. You're an instructor yourself, private, at your home, and you've trained a lot of really amazing up and coming ballroom dancers. You've trained at UVU, at BYU, you've traveled the world, and I'm hoping right now I've got a clip playing of some of the amazing moves Ryan and his wife have done on some of these awesome worldwide shows. But I'd love it if you just take a second and talk about ballroom and just go off on ballroom and anything that has come into your head since I was introducing you. Just spout it out.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you mentioned the ladies because My mom got me started when I started dancing when I was like 3. The ballroom, I started learning some ballroom dances when I was maybe 5 or 6, maybe around there, 6 or 7. But I wanted to quit when I was 13 and just be a skater. Like you said, I started to do other things. I was just taking Taekwondo. I wanted to go to the X Games because I was riding rollerblades on like vert ramps and doing like grinding rails and stuff. And it was actually the girls that kept me in class. My mom was like, "Okay, if you want to quit, you can just finish out the year because, you're on a team, so you're committed to the team." And before the end of the year, a couple of really pretty girls joined the class, and I was like,
The
"Well,
rest is history.
yeah, I'm gonna stick around." And if you see my wife, that's how I met her. She's absolutely gorgeous.
Yes, your wife is beautiful, and I say that completely unbiased. She is beautiful.
Inside and out,
Yep.
very talented. Um, you know, in regards to ballroom, what happened though, even though it was like the girls that made me stay, I started to see these competitors that were at the top of their game, and they were just incredible. And I had this idea, this vision that I could do that. I could get there someday. And so I did. I put it in my mind that I could get there. And I remember specifically when I was about 16, I was really frustrated because I wasn't I wasn't even making the top finals at local competitions. All of my friends were beating me at competition, and I had this desire. You know, I thought, if I work really hard, I think by the end of the year, I could get into the finals, at least the local finals. And maybe I could beat my friend Alex. My best friend Alex always beat me, and I loved him and supported him, but it also drove me crazy. So I didn't have the same financial opportunities that a lot of these guys did, where they were taking tons of lessons with coaches. Um, and so I said, I'm just going to outwork everyone. So I came home from school every day. First thing I did before I did anything else was practice by myself for at least an hour. Sometimes it would turn into like 2 hours, depending on what else I had to do that day with homework and my partner practices and my team practices. And I just did it every day. Every day that year, I just came home. It became a ritual for me. I'd watch the best in the world that had these VHS, and that tells you how old I am. I had these VHS tapes that I put in the VCR, and I'd rewind and I'd watch and these pros, and then I would try to emulate them, and I would envision myself dancing like them, and then I would take my choreography that I'd been given, and I'd try to make it look like them, and any amount of instruction I had received, I had a notebook. I took scrupulous notes anytime I did have a lesson with a coach or a professional who came into town. And by the end of that year, not only did I beat all of my friends, but I made the top 6 in the country. So we had nationals, and me and my partner were only one of 6 couples to make it into that final. And this was not just local; this was national competition. So it's possible, man. I mean, obviously now, my wife and I, we were on Broadway. So You Think You Can Dance. We've been in Dance with the Stars. We've traveled the world. Um, my wife was very similar. She actually had a childhood illness. She was on her deathbed for about 4 years. During these pivotal years that she should have been developing her skill, she would visualize herself dancing as she was getting, all these scans and tests to try to figure out what was wrong with her. And that was one of the things that, obviously she's beautiful, but that was one of the things I fell in love with right when I met her. And if you visualize, like, that's like you said, that's the first thing. If you don't visualize, you're not going to get it. You're not going to go anywhere. Like, you have to see yourself doing it. But then there's the daily grind and there's the work. So I love your message of this podcast because I've lived it and I've seen it in my own life.
Well, I am curious, when you say you envisioned it, you imagine it in your mind, do you have a specific process for doing that? Or is it just your brain just, you don't even think about it. You just start imagining. And I mean, do you imagine in color? Like,
Yeah.
what level of detail are you going into?
So it's actually really critical that you do three things when you're visualizing. You need to visualize in first person. So you're actually in your brain doing it, right?
Well, from your
Whatever.
perspective, you have to be like looking out of your own eyeballs
Yeah,
in your head,
in
right?
your head. Exactly. And then you need to do it third person. So you're actually watching yourself. So like I would visualize myself dancing on the dance floor and I would see my partner and I would see the audience and I'd see the judges and I would be interacting with the judges and people in the audience, right? Through my eyeballs, like in my brain. And then I would see myself from like third person, uh, people watching me and me doing, the choreography and dancing it perfectly, right? And I was executing it exactly how I wanted to do it. So that's number one. Number two, so first person, second person, and then you need to have emotion. Emotion is critical. You have to feel what it feels like to be doing the thing. So there's a powerful part of, so actually emotions connect it to your body. So you have your brain, which is your thoughts, but when you have emotions, it actually connects it to your brain. In fact, there's a lot of research that your heart is kind of like acts like a brain. It's where it stores emotion.
Hmm.
So um, yeah, you can't just think about it because you can have thoughts, you can think about it, but if you get to a place where you're actually feeling what it feels like, it takes on a whole new level. So that's one of the things that I've actually learned through my wife. She's an expert in neuroscience, so that's where this is coming from, and that's one of the things she did when she was, in all the hospitals getting tests and things like that. She didn't even realize what she was doing then. She knows now because she's a neuroscience coach, but she would feel it so powerfully that she would be in tears. Like she would be in an MRI and she would like see herself dancing and then she'd feel it so much and she was so grateful that she was doing it and her body could do that again that she would actually start crying in the MRI machine and doctors would be like, are you okay? Are you like having a panic attack in there? But people have PTSD. That's the reason why they can be in physical shock just from a mental memory because there's emotions connected to it and those emotions tie the brain to the body and they can be hyperventilating. They can have those feelings as though they're in war again, even though it's not happening, right? Because it's so powerful.
Yeah, so there's the pro of being able to visualize and feel your visualization. That's how you make it turn into reality.
Hmm.
And at the same time, if you've got negative experiences and emotions that you're reliving,
Yeah.
it does the complete opposite and it turns that into your reality.
Yeah.
So people that get PTSD and have deep anxiety and deep depression, I always think of them as just using their superpower in a negative way
Yeah.
instead of what it could be doing for them, which is just they already have deep
Mhm.
imagination and deep feeling connected to that. They're just using it in the wrong direction.
Yeah. Well, what's even worse is that's actually how the brain and body is designed. It's designed to protect you.
Right. Yep.
So it actually is something that you have to take conscious control over your brain. Because if not, it will tell you to, you know,
Protect
oh
yourself.
yeah, protect yourself. Don't do that because what if you fail, right? Don't do that because what if you fall on the dance floor and everyone laughs at you or whatever it is, right? And your brain's just trying to keep you safe. So that I would say is what you said earlier about how people don't realize their dreams, they realize other people's dreams. It's because they're literally just being controlled by their brain and their nervous system to keep them in their comfort zone, right? We talk about comfort zones, right? In their little safety box. So the key is understanding that and realizing, wait a minute, my brain is doing this to me, so I have to take control. I have to get in the driver's seat and I have to visualize what I want. So for me, for this year, I have a vision board, and on that board, I've printed off pictures of very specific things, right? So spiritual things, um, financial things, where I have a picture of a beautiful cabin. That's something that I want to attain. Um, I'm a competitive shooter now, so I don't compete in dance anymore. I do teach, but I found a love for shooting, and now I'm doing that competitively, right? So I have things on there about shooting and whatnot, and I look at it every single day, and I visualize myself achieving and doing those things that I have on that board. So then it's
I
just,
need to do that. I've heard
yeah,
so many people say that they've got a vision board, and I'm going to commit to making one.
yeah. It's super simple. Like you can just get pictures from like Pinterest or whatever that represent that are symbols for whatever you want on that board, and you just send them over to like Walgreens, and you can print them off for like really cheap, like
Yeah.
$10. And I just put them on a pegboard, and I look at it every day. Then it's the action, right? If I just look at my board, I just dream of these things and I don't do anything, like what's going to happen? Nothing.
Nothing. Well, that's the amazing thing about being a human, I think, is we were born with the capacity to create all kinds of
Hmm.
things. We have the ability to create other humans
Hmm.
through being married, and I very unapologetically claim to be a conservative Christian. I believe there are men and women, and that's it. And that's the way God intended it. And God did that for so many different reasons, not just so we
Hmm.
could procreate our race, but we need to learn how to use our capacities, our talents, our skills to fulfill our potential
Yeah.
as creators, as children of God, as people put on this earth for a specific reason. We all have a special purpose. And if you know what that purpose is and you use your creative abilities, then the sky's the limit, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah. I imagine us, you know, once we die and we're in front of God, He's going to show us two lives, right? Here's the life you lived. Here's the life you could have had. And that's going to be very hard for most of us, I think. Um, I think if you live with that perspective, then you will live every day to get the most out of life, because you don't want to be there regretting. You want to be there saying, wow, you know what? I took advantage. I did the best that I possibly could. I didn't let my fears hold me back. Um, the thing is, you have to remind yourself of that every day, right? You have to remind yourself, because again, the brain is gonna continue, and I face it all the time. I just recognize it. I recognize it, and um, for me, rituals are the key. So I told you that with dance, I created a ritual where I every day coming home from school, first thing I did, I practiced, right?
Mhm.
So one of the things I'm doing this year that I really have struggled with, like last year and the year before, is getting up early, right, and going to bed early. So this year I've been mostly going to bed around 9 o'clock, sometime between 8:30 and 9:30. Um, what happens? I just wake up at 5, right? Like that's when I wake up. So I have all this time in the morning, and I can wake up and I can focus on, specifically I'm really focusing on my spirituality in the morning, because I feel like that sets up the rest of the day, and it's absolutely having an impact, right? So that's a ritual. Again, for shooting, like for a shooting competition, we do what we call dry fire. So and that's practice. And you just have empty gun, no ammo in the room, but you've got targets on the wall, and you're practicing drawing that pistol and transitioning with your eyes and shooting the targets, practicing your reloads, practicing a reload with a step to the side or stepping forward or back. And so I'm doing that every day. So I have a ritual where I do that at least 20 to 30 minutes every single day. All right. So it doesn't matter whatever it is that you want to achieve, because your brain is going to try to talk you out of it and make you find something else, right? We live in a world, especially with our phones, TV, social media, to just get distracted. And I've been so guilty of it, like so many times. So you have to build in these rituals in order to accomplish what you have on that vision board, right? And they have to become habit. They have to become part of your daily life. And if you do that, you'll get there. That's been my experience, at least with the other things I've done in my life, the rollerblading, the ballroom dancing, the shooting. And I'm really focusing on that with my spirituality this year and with finances and business.
I just had a really interesting mental image of you have rollerblades on while you're ballroom dancing and then competition shooting at the same time. That would be amazing. That'd be the best TikTok video ever.
That would go viral in a heartbeat, man. Don't tempt me. I don't think it'd be really safe with the shooting if I'm on rollerblades and dancing, but
okay, well, dry fire then.
I could dry fire, yeah, or shoot blanks.
And I imagine you have night vision goggles on too. That's how specific my vision is of you. And your rollerblades are black.
Okay.
And you're wearing a black t-shirt. I'm not going to get any more specific than that, otherwise I'm going to sound creepy, but it's amazing what will pop into my head, my man.
You're practicing your visualization. It's all right.
So the one of the things you and I are doing together right now is a business called IdeaWins. And I've never mentioned that on the show until now, but it's you, me, and your brother Tyler, and we spend time finding cool ideas that help businesses save a bunch of money. There's a couple of different ways you can do that, but I've always been of the opinion that the IRS is horrible at managing our money, and so
we're finding out right now even more with Doge and what they're uncovering. But
yeah. And if anybody who's spent any time looking at any government agency will find huge inefficiencies just that would boggle your mind.
Yeah.
And now Doge is just uncovering those and making them public. That's all.
Yeah.
But the IRS specifically has been the bane of my existence ever since I was making enough money to start having to pay potentially 5 figures in taxes every year. I hated that so much because I worked hard for that money.
Yeah.
And believe me, I am totally fine paying my local state taxes, even though maybe I shouldn't be, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with paying my property tax and my taxes that go towards actual public schools, things that matter to me and my family, our infrastructure. But federal government stuff,
yeah,
I don't think we should give them a dime, especially since they can print their own money. But that's another side story.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to IdeaWins. I've spent a lot of time thinking about making my own businesses more efficient and saving money, not paying taxes legally, which is something that you and I definitely agree on. We use the same CPA, in fact, because of that.
Yep.
And so our company IdeaWins is meant to be a way for small businesses to find some inefficiencies, whether it's with their tax burdens or W-2 employees or healthcare. There's a number of different things that every business can save money on and not have to spend anything extra to do so. Like we don't charge any money to consult people on how to do this stuff.
Yeah. Yep. And we work in the medical space too with hospitals, helping them get more money back, podiatrists, surgeons. Like everyone should be able to keep more of their hard-earned money. Like that's
the bottom line.
It's the bottom line. And so that's what we do at IdeaWins. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and we've been in it for 2 years, two plus. and we started out with 6 partners. I've never had 6 partners in any business I've ever done, and I wouldn't recommend it to
Mhm.
anybody.
We learned a lot.
We did, and now there's 3 of us, and that's much easier to manage. And I I I found actually that I work really well with my family. My kids both work for me. My parents work for me. Our uncle Ben is one of my business partners, and I just find that for some reason I get along better with my family, and I think I have better boundaries too
Hmm.
somehow. And I may be not doing myself a service in some ways because I can't help myself but talk about business with my family.
Hmm.
They're probably sick of hearing about business at this point.
Well, not all of them, because look at how many are working with you. I mean, it's interesting though, when you talk about business, Adam, it's so positive. It's about a win-win opportunity. It's about helping other people to succeed financially. So there's a big difference, I think, between that and another, maybe someone else who might go about it in a different way. So I love working with you. Like, you're one of my most favorite partners I've ever had. I trust you explicitly, and but your positivity around it and your desire to just be helpful and make things happen is awesome. So just want to tell you I appreciate that.
Well, now it's public and it's been recorded, so you can never take that back.
Yeah,
Not that I ever think you would,
video
because
lives
I
forever these days.
it does. When people Google Ryan DeLello loves Adam, this is the first video that's going to come up. This has been fun.
I do love you, bro.
I love you
Appreciate
too,
you.
man. Thank you. And I think the ultimate payoff for me in being able to work with my family is I get a lot of value out of providing a stable situation for the people that depend on me. So that definitely includes my wife and my kids. But anybody I work with and that I'm in business with, I have a desire for their actual well-being if I can possibly help it.
Hmm.
I do have a boundary with that though. I am not going to kill myself
Yeah,
to make other people wealthy, but if I can help all of us become wealthy at the same time, that to me just makes the most logical sense for a long-term strategy in
yeah.
life.
I love that. Well, first of all, if you killed yourself, then you wouldn't be able to help any more people,
That's
right? So
exactly right.
definitely, that's a good line to never cross. But I think that's exactly how we should all. I mean, think about how much better this world would be if we're always looking at ways to bring value to other people,
Well,
right?
that's what they tell you to do in all the smart business books and sales
Mhm.
training. You got to be valuable. You got to show your value first before you can sell something to somebody.
Yep. And you have to be genuine, because people can smell when you're being fake. They can tell when it's all about you. Humility is key to success as well, and I think that's one of the things. I mean, you know, I don't know how much time we have, but being in the dance world and being in Hollywood, and I had the opportunity to experience some fame, right? And it's sad how much of a trial that is to people, money and fame and whatnot, to where they start to focus on themselves versus staying humble. And people still today, like they'll meet me and Ashley and be like, "Hey, oh my gosh, we voted for you on when you were on So You Think You Can Dance, and I can't believe like you're you know I'm meeting you, and can I take a picture and whatnot?" And for us, it's just like, it's weird to hear that they're fans of ours because it's just I'm just me. I'm just Ryan. I did something, I had opportunity, and I'm so grateful for that opportunity. I'm grateful I had the opportunity to share that, and I hope I brought entertainment and value to the people who watched me, and the students I get to teach. I'm grateful to pass on what I was able to learn and whatnot. But man, I've seen pride just kill a lot of people who they finally get their vision, right? They have this vision and they get there, but then the pride takes over and they're miserable, and it kind of destroys that initial vision that they had. So I would just add that, make sure you stay humble, and make sure you focus on like what you're doing and how you approach business is just awesome. Again, that's why I'm so grateful to be a partner of yours. Focus on helping others, bringing value to other people.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you agree with that, of course. And it was cool to hear you talk about being famous. You know, I don't know exactly how long you and Ashley lived in LA or you were around that scene. I know it was like a year or two at least.
We were, yeah, off and on for about 3 years in LA. Our professional dance career was over 10 years, but yeah.
Yeah, being on TV though, like on a weekly basis, national TV,
Hmm.
and at the height of your fame, a lot like other people who get famous, they do let it go to their head. And
Yeah.
I've never been in that position, so I have no idea what I would do, honestly. But
Hmm.
I would want to, I would strive to be my same self authentically and be an ambassador for God and Jesus Christ still, because that is part of who I am.
Yeah.
It's just what I talk about, and business too. It's these are
Hmm.
just the words that are always on my brain, so I'm going to talk about them. But that reminded me what you said about being humble. I heard a story. Actually, it was on LinkedIn. I read a story about this really successful dental surgeon who joined an organization to do third world country work when he was really young. This was before he was a successful, had any sort of success in his practice. He was still in debt and a young student, but he just committed to do some sort of service early on because he knew eventually he would want to do that
Hmm.
a lot more. And I think that's sort of the epitome of staying humble is finding some way to serve where you do not get any value or
Hmm.
return in any way, whether it's 5 minutes a week. Start somewhere and start serving in a way that doesn't give you anything tangible back,
I
and
love
then
that.
work your way up from there. I've heard so many people say, "Oh, well, when I'm wealthy, I'll totally donate my time and resources." But you won't. That's the thing.
Mhm.
The mentality that you have right now, no matter what it is, if you've got an abundance mindset right now, whether you make 50,000 a year or 500,000 a year, that's going to be your mindset
Yeah.
when you become wealthier and wealthier.
You don't just change and become a better person. In fact, you have greater temptation to become a worse person.
That's exactly right. So if there's, I guess, any recap to this episode, because I do got to get going, I would say number one, this has been an episode where Ryan confessed his undying love and admiration for me. And I
Great story.
also I get reminded of this every time we talk, honestly, but I've been out shooting with you, but you're a competitive shooter. And I feel like that's a big deal.
Hmm.
I'm proud that you do that.
Thank you.
And I think there's gonna come a time in our world that we live in where that skill is gonna come in really handy.
I hope
So
it doesn't, but I will be glad to have this skill if it does.
yeah, I'll go to your house when the crap hits the fan.
You're welcome. Just bring your guns and food storage.
Yeah, I'm really good at building up food storage, and I have a couple thousand rounds of ammo.
That's good.
I'll
That's part of your
donate it.
food storage. It's food storage, whether it's brass or,
Yeah, it is. That's a good point.
rice.
Anyway, I hope that by providing a platform really quickly for Ryan to talk about his vision for 2025 and a little bit about how he's going to execute on it, that those things come to reality for you, Ryan, and anybody who's listening. I hope that you've learned something. I'm going to now go out and make my own vision board. That's the one thing I've picked up from this show. I
Awesome.
know I need to do that. So thanks, Ryan, for
My
being with me.
my pleasure. Thanks for having me, Adam. And we'll be talking to you tomorrow on our team meeting.
There we go. This has been the Vision with Execution show. My name's Adam Torkelson. My cousin and guest today was Ryan DeLello.